Hi, this is Allie from the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk to you about how to move yourself out of resistance. So, basically every single one of my videos so far have been talking about different ways that we get ourselves into a state of resistance. So, to recap, basically, like the first couple of videos I talked about negative emotions and how we deny our negative emotions or we push them away and we don't allow ourselves to actually feel what they're trying to tell us. And that is essentially a state of resistance. We are resisting feeling our emotions, we're resisting learning from our emotions. And in my last video I talked about striving, and essentially that is also a state of resistance. We're resisting where we are, and we're trying to push ourselves to some place that we're not currently. A few other ways that you can get into resistance is when you are physically ill and you deny the fact that you are physically ill, or you are in resistance to doing something that might actually make you feel better, or to even looking at the truth of the fact that maybe what you're doing isn't working for you. You might be in resistance when you have negative thought patterns that come up all the time about different people or different things, and you just continue to have those negative thought patterns. That's resistance. Okay, so essentially when we talk about resistance and when we talk about being in a state of resistance, you don't really need to diagnose yourself so much with what exactly the resistance is coming from or whatever. All you need to know is that when you feel crappy, when you feel chronically sad, chronically anxious, chronically angry, chronically nervous, chronically not well, you feel emotionally chronically not well, you know that you're in a state of resistance. When you chronically think negative and terrible things about yourself, you know that you're in a state of resistance. And essentially the easiest way to say it is that resistance feels yucky. Resistance feels bad. Resistance doesn't feel good. And we've talked before about how when we're in a state of resistance and we're feeling that yuckiness over and over and over again, how it can drive us to do things like drink or overeat or overexercise or have a bunch of crazy sex with people that are not good partners for us, is because those things help us to momentarily feel good, which is how we know we're meant to feel. When we're not in a state of resistance, we naturally feel good. So when we're in a state of resistance and we're not allowing ourselves to exit that state of resistance, we're still going to try to feel good because we know that that's our natural state. So we might develop some of these kind of more negative, self-destructive habits that help us feel good in the moment, and then also create another level of distraction for us to help us avoid dealing with our resistance, our state of resistance, right? So today I want to give you some concrete tool that I believe will help you to start moving out of this state of resistance so that you can move back into your natural state of flow. And so when people talk about a state of flow being the opposite of the state of resistance, what they really mean is that you're just walking your life path. You're living in alignment with who you are. You're living in alignment with what makes sense for you in your lifetime right now. And the way that you know that you're doing that is that you chronically feel good, right? It's not so much about the circumstance. It's not so much about the people in your life. It's not so much about how your life looks. It's more that you just have this internal sense of being well, feeling good, feeling balanced, feeling joyful, feeling pleasure. And for anyone who's been living in resistance for a really long time and you feel like that state of being isn't possible, I just want to let you know that that state of being is natural for you, okay? And again, it's simply about learning how to stop the process of resistance, stop the pattern of resistance, interrupt that pattern, and start a new pattern of flow. Start a new pattern of allowing, start a new pattern of engaging with who you really are and engaging with the life you are really meant to live, okay? So that's what this process is about. So this process works if you know that you have a bunch of negative emotions that you're not able to process it. You're really not able to get into and feel it. Like if you try to do that, the negative emotions meditation, you really found that challenging. This is going to be your step one, okay? So this step also works if you are a chronic striver. If you're chronically striving to do better and you're chronically beating yourself up for not doing good enough, this process is going to work for you. If you're chronically just feeling a negative emotion and you don't know where it even comes from, you don't even know what your false belief is, you don't even know where your bad emotion came from, this is going to work for you if you struggle with self-destructive habits like eating or drinking or drugs or sex or whatever it is that causes self-destruction. This is going to help you. So the reason that I want to give this to you is not so that you can live your life perfectly. It's not so that you can start being better. It's not so that you can start being more spiritual or being more healthy or any of these things. It's not self-improvement, because I know, and I know that you know, that at your core there's nothing for you to improve. You're perfect, right? You're already everything you need to be. You already know everything you need to know. You're just having your human experience. And by exiting resistance, by letting go of this resistance and stepping back into flow, what you're doing is you're giving yourself a chance to enjoy your life. You're giving yourself a chance to feel good on a regular basis without having to do any self-destructive behavior that feels good in the moment but then has a negative backlash. That is the point. It's because you deserve to feel good. It's because you deserve to enjoy your life. That's the only real reason why you should step out of resistance. It's not so that you can do better. It's not so that you can produce more. It's not so that you can serve better. It's none of that stuff, okay? It's really just because you are deserving of feeling good. And that's why I want you to do this process. And that's why I encourage you to do this process if you chronically aren't feeling good. And just quickly, just to clarify, feeling sad because someone that you love passed away, or feeling angry because you failed a test, or feeling disappointed in yourself, this is not you living in a state of resistance, okay? That's you having a healthy emotional response to the stimuli of life, okay? I'm talking about chronic negative emotions, okay? Cool. So from here, this process is very simple, and it may seem too simple, but I really encourage you to give it a try before you decide that it doesn't work, okay? So the first step in helping to move yourself out of resistance and into flow is just to notice and recognize when you're feeling a state of resistance. So the easiest way to do this, again, is just to notice that you feel yucky, you feel anxious, you feel that drive to go drink, you feel that drive to go eat, you feel that hollow sadness, you feel that just chronic anxiety that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with anything. It's that feeling. So you notice either that you have that yucky feeling, that chronic yucky feeling, or you have that chronic drive to go do your self-destructive habit, right? So step number one is just recognizing, okay, I'm feeling this yucky thing, I'm having this drive to do this negative thing, I'm in a state of resistance. Awareness, step one, okay? Step two, send yourself love and compassion. Because I know that probably right now what you usually do when you start stepping into resistance is you start beating yourself up. Why do I feel this way? Why can't I get over this? Why am I such a victim to life? Why is everything so hard? Why do I want to do this terrible thing? Now I'm beating myself. Now I'm having this war with myself. No, I shouldn't drink. Yes, I want to drink. No, I don't want to. Yes, I do want to. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So you're having this constant war, or you're constantly beating yourself up. So this is the first pattern interrupt. The first pattern interrupt is for you to say, okay, I'm noticing that I'm in a state of resistance. I send myself love and compassion. First things first, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a weak person. I'm not flawed. I'm not broken. I'm not helpless. I'm not a victim. I'm just experiencing resistance, okay? And I love myself. I care for myself. It's okay. It's totally fine that I feel this way. It's totally okay that I feel this way. And I am okay, okay? So sending yourself that love and compassion, even if you only get that far, that's already interrupting your pattern, which is going to start shifting you more in the direction of flow and away from the direction of resistance, okay? So, after you've sent yourself love and compassion, step 3, think to yourself, what is one thing that I could do right now that isn't self-destructive that would make me feel a little bit better? Okay, so the other thing that you can think of this as is, this is what Teal Swan says, is what would someone who loved themselves do right now? Okay, so if you're feeling just your negative emotion, you're feeling your yucky depression or your yucky sadness or your yucky whatever, just think, what's the next best, most exciting thing I could do in this moment that might help me shift my state from this yucky feeling to a better feeling? So if that's go take a bath, if that's go for a walk, if that's get a hug, if that's go cry, if that's whatever it is that comes to your mind when you think of that, do it. And then if you're someone who's more on the side of a self-destructive habit like eating or drinking or whatever, I want you to say to yourself first, I'm still allowed to go do my negative self-destructive habit after this if I want to. I'm not taking that away from myself. I'm still allowed to go drink. I'm still allowed to go eat. However, what is one thing that I could do right now that's loving for myself that isn't self-destructive? Okay, so again, it's the same thing. It's still, what would someone who loved themselves do right now? What is the next best, most exciting feeling thing that I could do right now that isn't a self-destructive habit? But I'm not taking it away from myself. I'm just going to try this other thing first, and then if I still want to do my destructive habit afterwards, I can. Okay, so to recap, number 1, simply bring awareness. Okay, I'm in a state of resistance, I'm feeling yucky, or I'm wanting to do my negative self-destructive habit. Step 2, sending yourself love and compassion. It's totally fine that I feel this way. I'm okay. I still love myself. I still think that I'm great. I love myself. Step 3 is to think, what would be the next best, most feeling thing that I could do right now? What can I do to help shift my state? And then number 4 is I want you to thank your resistance. Thank this feeling. Bring it into the light. Draw it into the light. Say to it, you're welcome. Here, I know that you're trying to help me. I know I developed the state of resistance as something positive for myself. I know you're here to help me, and I'm not rejecting you anymore. Because it's the trying to push it away, the trying to push away the bad habit or trying to push away the negative feeling or whatever, that tends to keep it coming back. So if you just allow it to be, just allow that feeling to exist and know that it's there for you and that you can love it. Send that feeling love and compassion. Send that desire love and compassion. Again, it's going to start to shift you in ways that you've never known before. And the reason that this is so important is essentially what this process is doing is helping you to remove all foundations in your life that are built upon self-loathing, all foundations in your life that are built upon a false expectation and a false understanding of who you are, and it's helping you to start building new foundations of self-love. That's what this is. Okay, so that's why it's so important. And that's why it feels so weird at first, because you really are ripping out foundations. You're ripping out old ways of being that don't serve your highest good, and you're building in new foundations. And that's why at first it's so difficult, because it's a foundation. It's a foundational thing. Okay, so awareness, self-love and compassion. What would someone who loved themselves do right now? Sending the resistance, love, and compassion. Understanding that now you're building the foundations of self-love and removing the foundations of self-loathing. Okay? So, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to know, anything you want me to talk about, let me know below. And I will see you in the next video, because it's really fun for me to make these videos. Talk to you later.